Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it's time for my client Lewis's vlog, and we started with a pin bench press, which I think is something useful for him because he struggles a lot with lowering the bar evenly. He always feels it's a mobility issue, and I'm telling him it's a technique and a strength imbalance issue. Because it really isn't, because he can row to his chest just fine. But one of the things that I've noticed though, when he hits those pins on those pin bench press, that is a good way to reinforce even eccentric reps. And that's a tool that I like to use. I like to use floor presses also for that. So I may work some floor pressing in for him in his next block. Because again, if you lower the weight unevenly and you get a negative, painful reinforcement every time you do it, what do you think happens to your form? So it's just a minor little caveat we can talk about in this. What do you think happens to your form? It all of a sudden magically starts cleaning up when every time you do it the wrong way, it hurts on the same side. Things start correcting themselves. Just an observation I've made over the years. And I like floor pressing and things for that. Pin presses, it can be a little bit harsher because it's going to hurt worse. Right? You're going to bang yourself up more if you do it wrong. But it's a good training tool. And then it forces you to have to it forces you to even it back out mechanically at the bottom and then press from those dead stops also. So it's just little valuable tools that I found over the years, right? Little valuable tools. Of course, he's still like, we're continuing the cut. And again, I've had numerous people chime in on that in these vlogs, and they'll say, well, he's not big enough to be cutting. Yeah, but guys, he messed up and bulked fatter than he wanted to get. And he also did it before he came back on as a client. Right after surgeries and stuff, he kind of got fluffier than he really should have, honestly. And he knows that's a mistake. And so the thing is, it's a case of I do need to let him continue to cut till he's at a body fat to where he's comfortable in his skin. And then we're going to bulk again. In this time, we're going to do it for a long time, a slower bulk than he did. He's learned that he has to stick it out. Again, he's a young guy. He has to learn these things, and that's okay. That's okay. He's young enough that he has room to learn these things. He's learning these things at a younger age, while he's in college, rather than, later in life. And that'll serve him well to learn that sometimes we just have to be patient. Sometimes we have to do things the right way. And if we don't, it creates problems. So same thing. We did a pin squat this week. I wanted to give him some other variations because I am worried about overuse. So we're doing some different variations on the conjugate because keeping in mind, overuse accrues easier when you're in a calorie deficit, right? We get beat up easier. We heal slower. Volumes have to be watched a little more closely. And so I'm changing some of these lifts around a little bit, giving him a little more variation, some other creative stuff, just to force him to strain from different angles. We also have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. So we take him over to some of those other angles, since we are doing training maxes and heavy singles. So again, we're cutting that overuse down, making him learn some new positions that he has to move the weight from. And I like doing some of the pin work and stuff for those because it forces people to learn to move weight from a very, very hard dead stop. Because it's metal on metal. It's not, I'm stopping with a bumper plate on the floor on a deadlift or, against the squish of my chest or on the pause squat. It's metal pins, and that's its own separate beast. Right, just exploding off of those on lifts, it's different. It's different, and anyone who's done it knows exactly what I'm talking about. There's a lot of times when things come up and people say, "Well, how's this different?" Like I can try to explain to them how speed work against heavy bands. Like heavy bands being 25% of your max or more. So if your max lift is 400 pounds, you're doing 100 pounds of bands. How does it feel different? And it's like sometimes until people do it, they don't understand. And then as soon as they unrack something with those sort of band tensions, and you've explained to them ahead of time, be ready because it's going to try to jerk the bar down. And if it's a squat, it's going to jerk you with it. If it's a bench, it's going to try to jerk your arms down. And it's going to be really hard to stabilize. Just the unracking. Then when people do it, they're like, oh, now I understand. They also understand when you say no, if you don't accelerate through it, you'll get jerked back down. You've got to move the bar faster against heavy bands, or it will reverse on you near the end of a rep and come back down. Right? And until you've experienced it, you can only try to interpret those things. So, I mean, but pen work is another perfect example of that. Unless you've done it, you don't know. And then when people realize you start trying to dive bomb eccentrics on pins, it hurts. You bang the hell out of pins, and then you lose all your tightness. And then you got to try to readjust. Right? Things get knocked all weird. Pen work teaches you control. It not only teaches you, brute strength from a dead stop, it also teaches you control. But yeah, getting weights moving from pins, it's totally different. People think it's one thing from a bench on a pause. Dude, honestly, that's not that hard. That's why I laugh at guys who refuse to pause bench. Once you master it, it's not that bad. Because you can sink. You can use all sorts of leg drive. You can do other stuff. Right? Pens, there's no give. It's a different animal. But otherwise, other than that, we kept his training the same. It's just very basic, max effort, upper and lower on the first 2 days, and then dynamic effort, upper and lower. We're rotating waves and stuff on some of the speed work a little bit, keeping him appropriate amounts of hypertrophy work in to keep muscle that he has, right? And we just keep moving forward. And this vlog's a little shorter than the others. I'm not worried about plugging as many ads as possible on this. Right? We don't have to do that every time. So, I just got the work I wanted to in here. So I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.